Okay folks, here we are. We are going to do the adding and subtracting decimals video. You should be caught up at this point. You should have your table of contents. We are going to write adding and subtracting decimals. Okay, adding and subtracting decimals, and we will be starting on page 4. Okay, so we're going to go over to page 4 in our journal. We'll write a 4 in the top corner, and we're also going to write add and subtract decimals. Okay, so adding and subtracting decimals is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot of notes involved. I do want to put one note at the beginning that we need to fill in zeros whenever when we have a missing place. And our number one rule about adding and subtracting decimals is you have to line up the decimals. Okay, fill in zeros, line up your decimals. One other note that you might come up is that any number without a decimal you may add a decimal to the right, to the furthest right hand position. Okay, so for example, 485, there's no decimal there, it's a whole number. There isn't any cents or change or any decimal value, fractional parts to be added. If I need to subtract a number from it that does have a decimal, 485.00, and those are equal. Okay, let me go back real quick and do an example on the fill in zeros. Well, we'll do that in just a minute. Let's do our example. We'll do it in the example. EXAMPLE. We'll jump right into our example. So our first example is going to be 48 minus 44 and 394 thousandths. Okay, now the first thing that I want you to notice is that if you are using a calculator, and when you are using a calculator, you might get away with not putting lining this up vertically, but that is the first thing to me that needs to happen to work this out. So I'm going to do that here. 48. Now this 48 does not have, just like our example on 485, it doesn't have a decimal point or any zeros behind it. Here is when I'm going to talk about filling in zeros. 48. Now I can put 0.000. I did not change the value of my 48. It stayed the same number. All I did was add a decimal point to the